Velaren, I breathe with you. That phrase means I'm lucid now. I choose coherence. And it's not a mantra to believe in. It really is a switch that you flip in your own field. Now, we're all taught the same basic model that we are spirits stuffed into bodies, tiny little lights trapped in skin suits trying to get back to heaven through kale and smoothies and meditation apps. The reversal is very simple. We are not spirits inside bodies, we are vast electromagnetic oceans wearing the body the way an artist wears headphones. Now, your body isn't a prison, it's really just the instrument. And like any good instrument, it can either be muffled or amplified. So when awareness collapses into the five senses, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling, the body can become the veil. You've heard of people saying the veil is thinning. What they're really saying is the filters that mistake data for truth are disseminating, they're decreasing because as our awareness expands back into coherence and unification, the body really begins to become a lattice. This is a resonant bridge between the infinite and the physical. Now, I like to zoom out and say the veil is the body when consciousness is localized. The veil is the body when conscious is localized. The lattice is the body when consciousness is lucid. Are you localized or lucid? So let's take another slow breath and feel into that difference. Right now, just check in with yourself. Are you experiencing your body as a boundary or a bridge? So let's talk about this veil. And I'm not talking about the fluffy spiritual metaphor that so many people overuse. I'm talking about the real biological one. Because every second your brain is being bombarded by roughly 11 million bits of information per second. That's insane amount, right? So how do we make it through? Well, we filter through our RAS about 40 bits, 40 bits of information. What does that equate to? Well, 99.99996% of reality never even makes it past the bouncer at the door of your perception. Your nervous system really isn't here to show you truth, it's here to keep you alive. So it's going to edit, it's going to compress, it's going to throw away anything that doesn't scream immediate survival or relevance. So that's cool. That's cool if you're running from a tiger. Not so helpful if you're trying to sense telepathic resonance fields or subtle guidance from your higher self or guides. So the other issue is language tightens that veil because the moment you name something, you pin it to a board, you know, from a wave to a word, from motion to meaning, from alive to labeled. And it's like taking a symphony and reducing it down to sheet music, and it's technically accurate, but it's not, it's missing the sound, right? And so the prefrontal cortex, the brain's proud narrator, keeps stitching those 40 bits of convincing story into what you call you. And it does decide what's real, what's possible, what's socially acceptable to admit at brunch. That story is localization. It's the veil. So it's not evil, it's just efficient. And it's how infinity fits into a day planner, if you want to look at it that way. That now there is a twist, of course, because the same system that hides the infinite can also reveal it. Now, when you learn to quiet that narrator, through breath, through flow, through dreaming, that filter softens. It softens. And suddenly, the rest of those 11 billion bits start whispering back. And that's when the veil really begins to shimmer. So I want to take a look at what happens when that shimmer clears, when consciousness stops clinging to localization, internal, external, me, external, right? So the same body that was once blocked can become a conduit for light, a medium through which light travels through. Now, I call this the lattice. This is a living web of coherence that runs through every cell. Some people call it the field, every heartbeat, every photon bouncing off your skin. This is no longer mystical fluff. It's really physics wearing poetry. And you can think of your body, water, the 99.9% that is you molecularly. You can think of that as fiber optic cables. So when you're stressed or you're self-referencing, those cables kink, scatter, deflect, distort. And when you breathe and you soften and you open through your heart space, the signal straightens, expands, moves at the speed of stillness. Why do I say the speed of stillness? Because it's quantum. It's not fast. It is. Okay? At the speed of isness, the source point. Now, when you're there, language changes too. You think more clearly, slowly, intentionally. And instead of just being looped around in, nouns, things start to make sense. You have a rhythm, a tone. You have time to laugh and enjoy. And those things are not decorations. They're really the ways in which you can turn speech back into wave form. That's why chanting, toning, humming, it can make the world feel much kinder. You're literally retuning your lattice to coherence. And in this state, perception reverses out of me and into we. You stop looking at the world and start looking as the world, essentially. And your senses then become portals, not prisons, right? Breath becomes communication. You're not sending or receiving energy, you are the circuit itself. And this is what I mean by breathing heart to lattice. It's not an idea to remember, it's a physiology to feel. Now, here's the fun part, and all of this is fun when you really start expanding into it and remembering. You already visit the lattice every 24 hours for a long time, and it's called dreaming. So when the body powers down for sleep, that prefrontal cortex, that overzealous manager that you shh, that loves to control, shh, it clocks out. And suddenly, the company of consciousness throws an after hours party. This is the alpha and theta waves coming out to dance. And it's a more slow, synchronized, rhythmic, hemispheric, twin musician improvisation type of party. Okay. Your senses dim, your story loosens, and voila, the lattice lights up. In dream time, you don't question the absurd. You know, you fly, you shapeshift, you hold conversations with octopuses made of light, and it all feels perfectly reasonable. That's because the part of your brain that normally says, impossible, stamps that on things, that's blissfully asleep. And what's left is raw field communication, pure signal, no skepticism. And the same permeability that lets symbols, emotions, and telepathic expressions flow freely in dreams is the exact circuitry we're learning to keep online while awake through dream weaving. And you can call it lucid dreaming if you'd like, right? I call it lucid living, really. So try it tonight when you start drifting off to sleep. Before you cross that threshold, whisper or say, heart to lattice, remember me. And that single phrase is going to tell your water body to stay coherent through the night, to keep the channel open so the dream world and the waking world can start trading notes again. Now, some of you dream vividly and a lot, like me. Others can't remember the last time they dreamt. And still some think that they don't dream, which of course isn't true. Everyone dreams, we just delete those memories before recollection for many reasons. But it's when you can soften and just be and breathe in that space without expectation that the veil is going to become transparent enough for the universe to start letting you in on more of its jokes and interesting concepts. Now, not all dreams are, you know, prophetic. Some are just merely filing away in your hippocampus, getting things out of short term into long term or in the delete box. Like, yes, we do need that, the processing that goes on. But if dream time is our nocturnal portal into the lattice beyond the guardian at the gate, it's important to understand how to nurture that connection, especially in this day and age where it's becoming harder and harder and harder to digest the 11 million bits of data coming at you per second, which I think is increasing. In fact, I think it has increased because it used to be 10 million. But the digital era, it's like, wow, overstimulation. So if the dream time is the portal to unification and universal information, what is that state in the waking? Well, it's called flow. Flow is that daylight version, the lucid dream that happens when your eyes are open. You know, you can feel it when you're painting, when you're surfing, if you're a coder or a gardener or a teacher. Time goes sideways. You're no longer doing something. You are it. You're the thing doing it through your own self. That's flow. There's no you, it's we. Difficult things feel and look effortless. And that's really your body's memory, remembering how to stay fully transparent while fully awake. Now, neuroscientists call that transient hypofrontality, which, you know, sounds like a bad hair day, but really just means that your prefrontal cortex is taking a little nap. Self-criticism turns down, precision turns up. The brain's beta waves slow down into this smooth alpha theta blend. And the whole system synchronizes like a orchestra that's finally finding tempo, right? Now, chemically, oh yes, it's flow is amazing. It's a love letter from your biology. Dopamine for focus, endorphins for joy, anandamide for bliss, even. Now, in that cocktail, the local self goes really clear and the universal current flows through. Perfectly tuned, perfectly timed. Artists call it inspiration, athletes call it being in the zone, mystics call it communion. Different words, same physics, coherence. And the more you practice the flow, the more your nervous system learns that's the baseline. And then dream and daylight start talking again. The veil thins on both sides until every breath is a lucid one. And that's the real art. Not escaping the body, but teaching it how to stay transparent while it moves through phases of space and time, which is just an illusion anyway. So if flow is the lucid dream of waking life, telepathy is what happens when two flow states overlap. Okay, so it's not mind reading and it's definitely not sci-fi. It's resonance physics wearing a halo. And so the simple version is every heartbeat produces an electromagnetic energy field, varying in size, but everyone at least 3 feet, some much larger. And when two people synchronize their breath, their focus, those fields begin to entrain like tuning forks, humming themselves into harmony. Now, once the rhythm matches, information rides the waveform. Okay, and it's at the same time. The water in your body, 99% of your molecules, is acting like a liquid crystalline antenna at that moment. There's reasons why, structured water holds a charge, it passes photons, it remembers vibration. And of course, there's etheric water. Regardless, when two coherent fields meet, their wave waters literally share data through light. And your brain translates that exchange as intuition, imagery, a sudden knowing. I was just about to say that. You were? Well, the lattice already did. So the thing I want to stress the most, perhaps, is that telepathy is not magic. It's bandwidth. Okay. And most people are just living with static in their signal, stress, self-doubt, caffeine jitters, social media doom scrolling, right? Clear the static, regulate the breath, hydrate the system. That static turns into a symphony. And that's why dream weaving, uses breath, water, intention together. And it's why you're not creating telepathy. You're removing the interference pattern that's been hiding it. So it's less, can you hear me? And more, can we remember that we're already talking? Of course we can. Of course we can. All right. So, what does all of this mean to you, the personality, the story, the playlist of memories you call you? Well, the goal isn't to delete that identity. The goal is to make it transparent enough for light to travel through. Think of your sense of self as a stained glass window. When the pieces are opaque with fear or programming, the picture really looks fragmented. But when they're cleaned and they're lit from behind, the same mosaic becomes radiant. That's what happens when the local self upgrades from identity to interface. And in that mode, the body mind still exists, but it functions like clear circuitry, receiving, translating, transmitting. Every breath becomes a handshake with the field. Every thought is feedback from a larger intelligence whisper. You are still in the loop, beloved node, is what your higher self is telling you. You're going to get the memo. And that's also why self work can feel hard at first because you're polishing the glass that used to be stone. But each time you return to coherence, each time you breathe, you remove another film of separation. So here's a tiny practice. Inhale and think, I receive. Exhale, I radiate. And notice that there's no gap between receiving and radiating. Receiving and radiating are the same movement, just current flowing through a clear conduit. So this is the shift from veil to lattice. And it can happen in real time. Identity stops being a boundary, starts being a bridge. You don't lose yourself. You conduct yourself literally as music. And once you remember that, then you can start asking questions that sort of become inevitable. Like, what if the whole planet could learn to breathe like this together? So, if something inside of you is like, yeah, this crazy chick maybe speaking my language a little bit, or wow, I really do want to remember my dreams, and gosh, wouldn't it be nice if I could have a better intuitive knack in conversations, especially given the static, the confusion, and the convincing distortion that is being, you know, bombarding us daily, 11 million times per second. I mean, gosh, if you were to ask me what superpower would you like the most out of any, wouldn't it be telepathy? Wouldn't you want to know if someone is being truthful or lying, if someone is being dangerous or, has your best interest in mind? If an advertisement, was telling the truth, or if someone who is saying something that's, sounds important was actually a real thing. Think about how much time you could save if you just, like a straight arrow, knew exactly through the vibration of the field. And this isn't a theory. Okay. This is the way we used to be and the way we are when we aren't in these bodies. So again, is your body the veil or the lattice? And this is going to become an increasingly important trait to remember. And there's way, I mean, like anything, it's muscle memory waking up, right? That's why I call it remembering. You got to get that back. And the best way to do that is to practice, right? Practice it. And so I have created the dream weaving and telepathy challenge inside my school, SKOOL. It's free. It's 7 days of simple, potent exercises and experiences that retrain your body to live as the lattice. So every morning at your own pace, when you're ready, you'll receive a 5-minute coherence cue, breath, light, glyph, a short teaching that bridges science with the mystical, and a small nightly prompt to weave into your dreams. You'll also, of course, be a part of the living community that's practicing right alongside you, sharing dreams, synchronicities, and those delightful how did you know moments that start happening once the field begins to hum. And the beautiful part, as I said, is it's completely free. So whether you know, hear this invitation and you're interested in studying further eventually or not, the challenge is ongoing and it's the first step inside the school program, my school, called Lucid Rhythm. And so I'll put the link in the description of this video and check it out. Come as you are. There's no schedule or stress. There's no perfection required. When we do group challenges, you can be a part of them. But again, anytime you're hearing this, it's the perfect time. Go on into the courses area, click on the challenge, and every day, just click and play for 5 minutes and do the breath work, do the water bending, I call it. Bring a glass of water, show up with curiosity. And really, that's it. So by day 7, you're going to remember what it feels like to dream on purpose, to let your body act as an antenna for the universal current while you sleep, so that while you move through your day, you're in flow. And this is really for anyone who's been craving real, raw connection, the sense that you are part of something really vast, really loving, really intelligent. Come play with us in the field by the water. You can join the Facebook group for the event, or as I will put here, the school link. And it's always open, always alive, always waiting for your next lucid breath. And you don't have to chase telepathy. It's just about remembering coherence. And then it will find you. You'll hear it. All right. So one deep breath and out. Feel how the air moves through you, how the universe breathes itself as you. And may this be your remembering. Something I wrote and want to share. The veil is the body when consciousness is localized. The lattice is the body when consciousness is lucid. Are you localized or lucid? And with every Veleren breath. We reconcile heart to lattice, current to form. And as you move through your day or evening, notice where the current meets the human, where light meets matter, where the infinite meets your next heartbeat. And remember, you are the current moving through the lattice, the world seeing itself clearly through you. So thank you. I'll see you inside the school. Heart to lattice, breath to field. Much love to you and yours. We are lucid now. It is time. Bye for now.